Hello, welcome to the Motivational Millennial podcast, where we talk with inspiring members of the millennial generation who are living life with a sense of purpose and achieving their dreams. I'm Ivy LaClair.
And I'm Blake Brandis.
So this is the very first episode of the show. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here. We're going to use this time to just give you a sense of what to expect from the show. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about what the podcast is about, what the goals are, and then we will introduce ourselves to you.
Perfect. So first off, who are millennials? Well, millennials make up the generation of people born from 1980 to 2000. This generation is the largest and most diverse generation in the U.S. so far.
So the idea for this podcast initially came from the realization that the conversation that we typically hear about millennials is totally full of negative stereotypes and oftentimes advice on how to change us. And while there is some truth to the portrayal of millennials as entitled and narcissistic, we are also creative, idealistic, innovative, and we value meaningful work, which makes us pretty powerful.
And as fellow millennials, we think it's time to start highlighting members of our generation who are successful, fulfilled, and living life with a sense of purpose. Not only to show others how powerful and game-changing this generation can be, but also to remind us that we have the power to create a fulfilling life for ourselves.
This podcast gives voice to diverse members of our generation, including entrepreneurs, artists, leaders, and creatives, who are living fulfilling lives and achieving amazing dreams. And we hope it will inspire you to do the same.
Because the truth is, millennials have the foundational aspirations and values to make a real difference in the world. So let's not let anything stop us, especially not ourselves.
So here's how it's going to go. Every week, Blake and I are going to interview a member of the millennial generation who is living life with a sense of purpose. We will find out about their journeys, how they overcame challenges along the way, and get their advice to their peers, that's us, about pursuing their dreams. And after the interview, Blake and I will have a brief discussion about our biggest takeaways.
So right now we want to take a moment to share our journeys with you. Ivy, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so when I was thinking about the best way to introduce myself for this first episode, originally the first things that came to my head were, an introduction of, here's my undergraduate degree, and here's my master's degree, and here's the jobs I've had, and, sort of listing off credentials, and, I've decided to go a totally different route with it. If you are interested in my credentials, you can find them on the website. We'll give you that here after a bit. But you can definitely check that out and see a little bit more of the specifics. But what I really wanted to share with you is a realization that I had in the past week. And it came from, it was amazing. It was in this moment where, so I'm a Kansas girl, and, I grew up in the Midwest and have lived out in the Bay Area. We're based in Berkeley now for a couple of years. And I've gotten used to, in a positive way, just the beauty of the weather and the it's sunny most of the time, and there's just flowers all the time. It's amazing and beautiful. And I was outside and I was just breathing it all in and taking it all in and thinking about how incredibly happy I am right now. There was just this peace, this sense of fulfillment and happiness, really like I've never felt before. And then I noticed, sort of immediately following that up, like this feeling seemingly out of nowhere. And it was a feeling of shame and a bit of guilt around feeling so happy. One, in part because I was not so used to it, but two, I think this is not an unusual way for us to feel in this culture. And we live kind of in a shame-based society, and I think more often than not, what keeps us from moving forward and what keeps us from changing and what keeps us from growing isn't a lack of ability or capacity, but it's a fear around accomplishing something because we feel like we're not worthy. Like there's a subconscious belief that we don't deserve whatever happiness may or may not come from this growth and this movement forward, or this achievement, or this, if we accept a promotion or etc. And I think it's in part because we get so used to being stressed out and being unhappy and worrying all the time, so that possibility of being really fulfilled and really happy most of the time, it either feels like we're not worthy of it or it doesn't seem like it's possible. I've realized, I guess in that moment, and since then I've been kind of thinking about it, but I realized that it is possible. I mean, that's what that moment of me sitting there going, wow, I'm so happy right now, genuinely glowing and peaceful and excited about my life. And that wasn't something that I thought was possible either. I'm incredibly grateful for my mom and my grandparents and all of my family members and people I had in my life to support me. The reality is that I was an only child to alcoholic parents, and my dad was really never around. And, that resulted in, for me, a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure and a lot of stress for a kid. And, my path wasn't easy, and the main thing really being that I was experiencing some depression and anxiety from the time I was like 11 or 12 years old. And it just became default. It just became what I thought was life, because I was in my head all the time. And then, I get myself in crazy relationships and all of these things that seem to reinforce that. And it wasn't until a few years ago, I was an undergrad, when I realized I started making deliberate decisions toward my happiness. And the reason that I did that was because as a kid, and growing up, no matter how stressed I was or depressed I was or how low, I felt, I never gave up on hope. I never stopped having hope and having a belief in the possibility of things being better and things being awesome. And I always believed in the potential of the future. A few years ago, I started making those decisions deliberately, and they were hard. I'm not going to sit here and say to you that those decisions were like, yeah, this is, on a whim, leaving a challenging marriage that I was in, picking up all of my stuff and putting in a car and moving across the country. Like, those were not easy decisions to make or execute, but they were the right ones to make. And what all of this taught me is that everybody has a path, and everybody has a unique path. It's unique to each one of you, what your path to your fulfillment and your happiness and your ideal life is. But it is there. And it may not be easy, but it is there. Going back to Motivational Millennial and why Motivational Millennial is here. This is a community that's all about helping you and helping each other to find that path and move forward on that path toward your most fulfilling life, so that you can be sitting there going, oh my gosh, I'm so peaceful, I'm so happy, this is what life is supposed to be. And you can reach those moments of wow. And what I realized was that in order for me to be able to hold that space for you, I was going to have to release my shame around being happy. Like, I was just going to have to say, you know what, I am really happy right now. This is really exciting, and embrace that and love that, because all that does is reaffirm over and over and over again that it is possible, that happiness is not just a pipe dream. It's not just, a motivational quote on the wall, that it really can be a lifestyle. It can be the way that you approach every single day. And I guess the biggest thing that I want you to know about me and about why I'm here and about why we're bringing to you all of these amazing people is because even though the path can be challenging, it's going to be amazing too. I mean, it's going to be amazing too. It's going to blow your mind, and you're going to think, wow, I said yes to that, and look at my life now. You're going to reach those moments where you look back and go, I never would have thought this was possible. And we want to show you, through my story, through Blake's story, through all of these other amazing people who we're going to bring on the podcast, through their stories, what it's been like to overcome those challenges, what it's been like to now be at a place where they're excited and they're living every day pursuing their passion. Because even though it's hard, like, it is possible. No matter what, I never gave up on myself. I had hit some really crazy low moments in my life, but I never gave up on myself. And I'm so grateful for that, because now I'm in a place in my life where I know that I will never give up on you. I will never give up on holding for you the possibility for you to live your most fulfilling life, for you to achieve your dreams in a real, genuine, and authentic way. I will never give up on you. And I hope that you never give up on yourself. You know, maybe you'll have those moments of doubt, but rest assured that Blake and I are going to be here, and we're not going to give up on you. And we're going to be here holding that for you.
Thank you, Ivy, for sharing your journey and that incredible story and the really real sentiment as well at the end. You've really also inspired me, because I was going to deliver a very autobiographical, almost resume style intro as well at the beginning here, because I feel, people need to know who we are and what we've done and why we're qualified to talk with them and interview these people. But I think the reality is, as Ivy said, you can check on motivationalmillennial.com for that information. But I also want to share a revelation that you shared with me about a week ago that really made me think. And I'm going to paraphrase you, but you said, if every single day you're worried about your to-do list, at some point your entire life is just going to be one big to-do list. And that really hit me in my core, because I think at some point, in an effort to be productive and successful and accomplished and someone who makes the best use of their time all the time, I've really come to valorize the to-do list as a marker of my self-worth, and realizing that that's a choice is really freeing. And I think for me as well, defining my self-worth so much externally has been part of my journey that has been applauded and reinforced all along the way. And so when I take a step back and say, does it really matter? What really matters? Inevitably I run into the shoulds, right? I'm actually writing a blog post right now called Lost in the Shoulds, because I feel it's so easy in every moment to say, what should I do right now? What should I be doing? And there's so many ways I can answer that question. I could say, well, what do my parents think I should be doing right now? What do my clients think I should be doing? What's my business partner think I should be doing? You know, and that's a hard place to be in, because all of those people, plus every book you've read and everything you've seen on television or in movies, has an opinion about what you should be doing right now. And realizing that listening to yourself is the first place you should turn to answer that question is really hard when you feel like your entire existence has been built around seeking external validation. So for me in this introduction, I really want to echo what you said about our mission here is to share that sense of belief in the possibility of living a fulfilling life. Because when I was in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I was also telling myself a lot of stories about how I didn't have real friends, how no one really cared about me. And even if people seemed to care about me, because I certainly did have friends in retrospect, but at the time, it just felt like people felt sorry for me, or they weren't really invested in my happiness. And so that was a story I told myself that led to some serious depression. And when I speak to students, when we do the motivational speaking work in schools, I share with them that I could look back on that as a story of weakness, and to say I was so weak that I couldn't take responsibility for my own mind state. I couldn't take responsibility for my own happiness. Or I can look at that as a story of strength that said, wow, if you got through that pain that was real for you, and if you got through the struggle and the challenge, what else can you achieve? And so that's really what I feel is at the core for me of Motivational Millennial is we've all had struggles and challenges, and they all look different because all of our stories are different. But we all share that sense of wanting to do something that has meaning, wanting to be someone who cares and who makes a difference in people's lives in some way. And through Motivational Millennial, my goal is to show people those possibilities through the guests on this podcast, through their stories, their triumphs, their challenges, and also through the work that we do in building this community of people who care about each other, who care about making this world a better place, and who recognize that that all starts with a decision. It starts with a decision to focus on being and creating the reality that you want, because that is truly the only thing you can control at the end of the day. And for me, it's a struggle. That's, it can sound really easy. Be that person, create that reality, but it takes conscious effort. And like you said, there are growing pains all along the way. And there are times when we fail, there are times when we doubt ourselves, but ultimately, when you have those moments of happiness that you were describing in the introduction, I think you can really see what that possibility looks like and work towards making that a reality every day, just through conscious decisions, little actions, habits, surrounding yourself by people who care and who are invested in helping you create that reality. So I'm looking forward to sharing this journey with you, our amazing listeners, and co-hosting with Ivy and talking to some incredible entrepreneurs, artists, leaders, and creatives about their journeys on this path to a fulfilling life.
Thank you for sharing your journey, Blake, and thank you to all of you for listening to our very first episode. Please check out the next 2 episodes that are released with this one, and we will be back again next week with a new show. And if you want to learn more about our upcoming guests for the podcast and about our other offerings like coaching and workshops that we offer at Motivational Millennial, just visit www.motivationalmillennial.com. And that is millennial, MILLENNIAL.
We'd love to hear from you and hear your thoughts on the show. Feel free to shoot us an email at podcast@motivationalmillennial.com. Tell us who you might like to hear from, or if you think you or anyone you know would be good for the show. We'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Thanks so much.
Thank you.